Back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with another edition of Live SEO Support, your favorite live Q&A SEO session with the two most handsome and intelligent SEOs out there.
Number one, number two.
Exactly. Number one, number two. Yeah, there we go. Looks like your camera's messed up a little bit over there, Nick. I don't know if you want to fix that. Not a huge deal, but
No, I don't want to.
I know you don't.
On the inside, Chris is fucking screaming
You
right
shouldn't
now.
say the F word on stream.
Listen,
We're
he
gonna
is
get demonetized.
He is so a-retentive.
You know, that's what I bring. That's what I bring to the table here. Attention to detail. But yeah.
There we go.
That's right. We're also starting a new thing where we're not really giving the big countdown timer because it seems like more people have been just asking questions and stuff. We just go live right away. So yeah, we'll just small talk for a minute or two and then yeah, we'll get going. Hey, Webticians, you said you're number 3. I don't know about that, bud. You're gonna have to send us a pic or something. I don't know if you're in our Facebook group or not. And yeah, we're Americans. We're based out of Austin, Texas, USA. How you doing today? Yeah, Nick, how you doing? What's going on over there? You want to tell people about your newfound love, the best thing you've ever, I don't know, found?
Do you guys have air fryers? Oh my goodness. Just what a phenomenal little device. You know, I've built links to countless air fryer websites. I feel like that market is so oversaturated. I don't mind saying that. That is, you know, I'll use it multiple times a day. You know, the microwave leaves your food disgusting, soggy, you know, feels zapped and mushy. Air fryer is like, you just went to fine dining restaurant and you got served some amazing stuff.
We'll turn the show into an infomercial for air fryers.
It's not that amazing, but I mean, on the real, like I've probably in the last 2 days used the air fryer at least 5 times, just to make quick snacks and stuff like that. But it's so convenient, and the food comes out so good that I don't know now how I ever lived without one. That's it's a solid investment of like $100 or so.
That's probably like a grease trap, though, right?
Yeah. So there's like a basket that sits within a deeper well, basically.
So you do have to empty it out at some point.
Yeah, it depends on what you cook too. Like the other day we cooked wings in there, and you know, from raw chicken you get a lot of grease. But it's so easy to clean too. That's another thing. It's 2 minutes to clean. And,
yeah, we should just start like an infomercial series where we just
I'm okay with talking. We could put affiliate links, Amazon affiliate links inside of our videos.
That would actually be really funny.
We should do that for this video. If we sell an air fryer,
what kind do you have?
I don't know. It's actually, so it's in the house.
Yeah, you're renting right
that
now.
I'm currently in. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely gonna have to come over there though, because I'm a boomer and I need to like see it with my own eyes to believe it.
It's amazing.
The YouTube videos don't do it justice.
It is. It's quite the treat.
All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and get rolling. So if you guys got any questions, anything at all, doesn't matter what it is. Hopefully, or it doesn't have to be SEO related, but it's usually SEO related. That'd be cool. And we'll go ahead and we'll get your questions, live questions first, and then we've got a backlog as well. It's just stuff we've been meaning to answer for a while. So yeah, we'll go.
Oh yeah, and I did say that we were going to audit that one site. I've kind of already done it. Shouldn't take too long, but
what one site?
1 sec, I'll send it to you.
Is Caspian actually saying goo goo?
Yeah, he did just say that. That's kind of funny. I don't know what he was trying to say. This. All right, sending it to you in Messenger.
I thought there was one question in the group as well from a day or two ago.
Heather.
Okay, I'm looking for it right now. One sec.
Well, that's the
That's
one.
one you just sent?
Well, I sent you you can find the question, but I sent you the site that she was
Oh, that's her
asking about.
site.
Mm-hmm. And I've done like a little kind of audit for her based on what she was asking, but yeah, it's not too complicated.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I guess we'll just go ahead and get to Heather's first. All right. Sorry for the little delay there. Okay. So this was a question we actually got in our Facebook group, and we kind of answered it, I think, or Nick's answered it a good amount, but I guess we're going to dive into a little bit more deeply. And so, yeah, here we go. Hi, first post. I'm a beginner, mainly working in my own small business site, but enjoying the SEO aspect of things. Thought I'd experiment and bought a cheap expired domain. It's got a Google penalty, which I didn't realize. Looks like about 100 legit referring domains. Is it worth it to stick it out, build some content, etc., and see? Or is it better to just ditch it and find a different domain with rankings but without a penalty? And before we dive into it a little more deeply, I'll just give like my quick answer because I think Nick's gonna kind of just go for a while, or we're just gonna get a little more deeply into stuff. And so what I told her is that it's awesome to see a beginner kind of experimenting and going with the route of expired domains and stuff, because it can be an extreme shortcut, and just the value that's there is pretty insane when you think about it. How cheap you can get expired domains for basically the amount of links that it would cost, to build something of equal authority. But the one kind of negative thing I had to say about it was that expired domains can really take some work and some know-how to get going. And even if it doesn't have a penalty, it can take this extra time and just this extra kind of, you just don't really know if it's going to work or not. And so I was saying, as a beginner, it just might add a little more element of what the hell is going on, rather than if you were to find one without a penalty, or maybe not use an expired, use an aged domain instead. But that's either here nor there because she's already got it and she's experimenting, which I think is awesome. And it can definitely still work out. And so I think Nick's going to dive a little bit more into that. And I think, so the site you sent me is the actual expired domain that she had bought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get a little Ahrefs screenshot.
Gotcha.
I guess.
Yep, give me one sec. Bear with me. ETA 5 seconds on the screenshot.
And so just a little more background, because I did go a little back and forth with her in that thread.
I'll just give a screenshot like this. That look good to you?
I think that's fine, yeah. Something to note is that she originally thought she had a penalty, then came back because I was asking maybe, what kind of penalty is that's going to determine kind of how to go about this. And after putting it in GSC, she said that she realized there was no penalty in there, and then we PM'd back and forth a little bit.
Wait, so why did she think there was a penalty?
Yeah, so she did a manual check, right, for for the brand, and I guess it wasn't popping up. And then she did a if you go to Google and then you search for your site, remove the period between
You're talking about like the ghetto penalty check?
Correct, yeah.
Thanks a lot. Oh.
Ghetto penalty
So I'm showing So this is kind of like the ghetto penalty check. You basically type in your domain name here, and you remove the period, and then you just put co. And basically, if it shows up at the top, it's a pretty good sign that the domain doesn't have a penalty. Another thing you can do after that is a little more of an intense one, is just remove everything after the dot. So you just search for just the domain name without .com or whatever, and if it shows up at the top, of course, that's a much better signal. But depending on the niche, it's not as always as good of a check, because your niche might be super competitive, and if you have something that's kind of like a partial match domain or something that's just kind of like keywords in there, then a lot of times it's very possible for other sites to outrank you.
And so first thing I did when I got her URL was check that, and I saw that things were normal. And then she let me know, that she'd put it in GSE. And so ultimately we realized, there's no current manual action on this site, and it is resonating in the SERPs. What she said was originally that didn't happen, and that could have just been, having to wait on the expired domain to come into play in the SERPs, and it looks like it came back, for its brand, etc. Everything seems to be resonating normally as far as now, and so at a glance, it looks like the domain is primed and ready to use. When putting it into Ahrefs, to determine whether the backlink profile is worth salvaging, I would say, it's got a decent amount of Web 2.0s, but they're actually all, legit and pertinent to what this blog used to be. So, those are still worthwhile to have. And then I can't remember what niche she's in, but I think, these links will
It's a
work.
lot of Web 2.0s, yeah. It's about about 70% of the links are Web 2.0s.
But from it's not Web 2.0 spam. It's from the days people were blogging.
Old Web 2.0s.
Oh well, there's a decent amount of comments up in here. And so anyhow, overall,
as far as it having the penalty or not penalty, being expired or whatever.
There's no penalty. It's niched down enough for what you're trying to do. Ultimately, I don't think it's like, the absolute best starting point, but it is a good starting point. It's better than starting from scratch, in my opinion, in the sense that you have some pillowing. If we check the anchors, it's a nice healthy mix. There doesn't seem to be any manipulation here trying to go after specific keywords or anything like that. So from that standpoint, it's, nice and pillowed, etc. You're already indexed, you're in the SERPs, you put it into GSE, you see there's no manual penalty. So yeah, I think this is a fine starting point.
I just want to go over that one point that you kind of said really quickly. You said that it's indexed.
Yeah.
And how did you check for that, just so people know?
Just show them since you've got the screen share, but site.
Yeah, so this is a check you do all the time. Really easy to see if things are indexed. So site : and then you just put in your website right there, and you. Oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway.
Didn't see what you did, but I assume it's screw up the.
Well, here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Here, we'll do like this. So basically, yeah, you do a site : and then you do the domain name right there, and then it'll basically tell you how many URLs are indexed. CNN obviously is going to have an insane amount of URLs indexed. And so it's saying about 5 million results. What's another one we could do? A smaller site.
Literally anything. Go ahead and do small site. What's like a Austin local site?
Do 512 maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
That's still a pretty huge site. So you can see here, it's about 235,000 results. It's a big like local kind of like things to do site in our city. But yeah, it's just a quick way to see if things are indexed. So Nick's saying that, it's an expired domain. The domain does not have a penalty. It passes the ghetto penalty check that we showed you. It passes the, or it didn't have anything in Search Console saying that there was any kind of manual actions or whatever. It doesn't mean, so the ghetto penalty check kind of says that there also isn't an algorithmic penalty. There could always still be an algorithmic penalty because it's not something they come and tell you that's happened. It's not really a penalty, I guess. You just get hit by an algorithm basically. But that doesn't really matter. And so basically it looks like there's no penalty. It's an expired domain, but it's got a few pages indexed already. So it looks like things are pretty much ready to get going and move, right?
Yeah, I would say, you can keep going. Now, hypothetical, let's say it wasn't a worthwhile domain to work with. Well, the good news is because a lot of people, might pick a domain they found at auction based on metrics that they recently learned that, are supposed to identify a really good site like DA or something like that. And so they go out, they spend a good amount of money on a domain. And come to find that it's pretty spammed out, and that the metric itself has been manipulated, and you haven't bought such a good asset. Well, the good news about that is even if you've spent money creating this site, putting that content onto this URL, you can always migrate that, and you can put that on a different URL. So nothing's ever too lost, right? The amount that you spent on the domain itself is going to end up being a sunk cost, but overall, that kind of fraud with content, etc., isn't going to be that big an issue. And if you've waited, which I would advise, if you just got a expired domain, not so much something you've got to worry about with an aged domain, but with an expired domain. Maybe give it enough time to actually like get indexed before you start spending a whole bunch of money on backlinks. And though backlinking can help index a site, it's also not normal really for a huge amount of backlinks to hit a site that is not indexed, right? So, you can kind of move slow. And for the starting off point using an expired domain, work more on the actual site building and content, etc.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. Anything else to add on that one?
I think that's about it.
Cool. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, Webtician says, "See, you're Americans. That's why I hear the F word."
Where's he from? We could make
Webticians? We actually really, I think, do a pretty good
travel
job
a lot.
of cleaning
We know
up
the
our
cuss
language.
words from everywhere.
We do a pretty good job of not cussing a lot on stream. We actually cuss a lot more off stream, which I guess is probably the case with most people. But I feel like we probably
Yeah,
cuss
most likely.
maybe more than other people.
I don't know about that. Because we're not too terribly bad
I'm
about
pretty
it.
bad.
I mean,
I'm pretty bad. I catch myself doing it like around family and stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Hey guys, let's say I were to build 50 backlinks a month. How many social signals would you suggest to use that month as pillow links to mimic buzz? Any suggestions? A number like 1K, 2K, etc. No. When it comes to stuff like social signals, like, okay, so when you're like building links and stuff, and you're trying to keep your anchor text above a certain percentage or whatever, even though we don't really think about it in percentages, but you try to be a lot more exact with stuff. When it comes to social signals, it's kind of just like we just like throw some out there and go from there. It just, Google doesn't look at these things in the same manner. We think that they for sure know that they're there, but as far as how many you should do or whatever, I don't think it really matters that much. If you wanted to, you could make a habit of doing like one of our packs a month. Our packs have a minimum of about 225 in there. So yeah, I mean, you could even if you're not gonna buy our packs or whatever, you could just think about doing about 225 a month. We generally don't do more than like 225 a month unless it's like a really big site with a big budget, and maybe we're hitting social signals on like a couple different hub pages at the same time. But in general, it's not something we really go too crazy with. If you wanted to, just maybe think about that many 200 a month or whatever. And even then, we don't even do that every month. But if you're really trying to mimic the social buzz like we talk about, to kind of blend to make your link campaign look as natural as possible, then yeah, you could just do something like 200 or so a month. But it doesn't even have to be that many. If you're just doing them on your own or some other way, um, you could even be like 20, 50, 100, something like that. The fact is that you're getting talked about on social media, and just kind of think about it in a way. If you're building like 1,000 backlinks a month, it might make sense to do more social signals. If you're building, like 4 backlinks a month, it might not make sense to do a lot of social signals. You could just do, a few or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But it's not something I don't think you can really overdo it either. But yeah, it's just not something I don't think you need to worry about as I don't know how to put this, as much as you are.
So let's picture it from how things typically work from like a natural standpoint, right? So a website does something, starts creating buzz, other websites are going to link to it, and then social media shares typically follow that, right? If it's something that's got buzz, it's gone viral, it has value, right? It typically does get shared on social media quite extensively. So what's important about this, again, like Chris said, don't worry too much about any kind of specific percentage depending on how many backlinks you're getting, etc. As the variables are there to kind of blow all this out of the water to where you can't pinpoint any of that, meaning it depends on the size of the site that gave you the backlink, right? How popular is that site? How viral is that particular post going? How much traffic is it getting? Etc. Right? So, like Chris said as well, you don't have to worry too much about the minimum amount of social signals or the maximum amount. I wouldn't blow it out of the water and do like 50,000 social media or social signals over the same month. However, that's not to say that you couldn't get away with that, right? The reason that our packs typically are a bit smaller is just because it's more controlled and it's a higher quality social signal. So I think that's probably what's most important is what kind of content's getting blasted, and by how trustworthy the accounts that it's getting blasted by. Considering that kind of stuff, you're pretty open-ended. What I would think is more important is just that you maintain some level of social signals throughout your campaign, as it's very natural to have that. But then also consider that social media, Facebook itself, is such a huge network that there is a ton of information for crawlers to crawl. A blast of 200 to 1,000 social signals might kind of extend for a longer period of time than your backlinking campaign. So like 1 month for the backlinks and 2 months for the social signals. Completely made up, but just to give you an idea.
Yeah. And just to do a little more selling, so we don't do this very often, but our packs can actually have quite a bit more than 225. I don't know if you
I was
noticed
going to say, I
that.
thought they averaged quite a bit more than that. Every time I get them back, it's like 700 to 1,000. But
Yeah, it's
I think
225
also it
plus.
probably, it depends on most likely the size of the site.
It has a lot to do with just how we incentivize people to share it. Basically, I think sometimes people feel more inclined to share certain types of content, I think. But who knows? Some things just share like wildfire, and some things don't share as much. But yeah, guaranteed 225. Sorry, go ahead.
Before we go on to another question, I wanted to go back to the last question, as there's like kind of an important part that I completely forgot. The one about that site, the site audit we just did.
Yeah, what can I put up as the question right now? We'll just make a separate video out of it.
Well, so I guess let's say, so I thought I had a manual penalty, but then my expired domain got indexed, and I can't find the penalty or something along those lines. So again, remember that in this prior question, Heather had, thought she had a penalty, and she wasn't sure what the penalty occurred from, etc. And so the first thing that I checked, was of course the backlinks to check for a backlink penalty, and we didn't find anything there. And then the next thing for me to think would be worthwhile to look at, which is where I would jump here, is to archive.org, where kind of what I was guessing at was that it'd probably been used for a PBN because it kind of had that kind of feel to it, backlink wise, where somebody could pick it up pretty cheap and then repurpose it. And the niche on it was pretty broad, so it would have been a good PBN. And sure enough, it had been used as a PBN. A lot of people, when they're hunting expired domains, would really shy away from any domain that's been used as a PBN before, but I'll say in complete honesty that I don't mind picking them up and using them. However, you do still run the risk of sometimes having a very long lag to getting it back to index. However, you can always create accounts and submit reconsiderations to index, etc. But that's a whole other can of worms. But it's definitely doable. I've done it quite a lot, and so anyhow, you'd come to archive.org, then you'd kind of look through the history. What this is going to do is give you snapshot images of what a particular domain was used for at any given point in time. And for her particular site, I'd seen that it was used as a PBN before. My guess is it probably got de-indexed because of that. But especially since there was no backlink manipulation on it, once that PBN has gone down, the site has sat unused for X amount of time, and then especially when it switches maybe a registrar or changes hands, you're going to see that there's kind of like a click, or what seems to be a click, where things sort of get reset. That was just something that wanted to bring up and touch on.
Gotcha. So yeah, for you guys that don't know, Wayback Machine, it's not working with this site for some reason. But archive.org, Wayback Machine, you can type in a site, and theoretically, what the heck? What am I doing here?
I can't see the screen.
One sec. Archive.org. There it goes. I don't know. I was trying to do some kind of like weird search or something. So yeah, here you go. You type in a website in archive.org. It's called the Wayback Machine, and you can go back through the years. And so we could go to like 2016. I just picked some random like dog site that I just looked up in Google. And so, here we are in 2016. Then I can go on June 2nd and I can view a snapshot of what the site actually looked like at this time on that date. And so it's loading right now. It can take a second to load on these things.
Kyle said Wayback's been glitchy lately. And shout out to Kyle, for making us some awesome commercials recently. Get into the Facebook group and check that out. It is sick.
Okay, so yeah, here's an actual snapshot of the site on that date or whatever. What you can do is you can go and you can, when you're shopping for domains, you can go and you can look and see, like, was this site how was it used in the past? Was it used as a PBN? Was it used as a really crappy PBN? Like, did they really just spam the hell out of stuff with it, with horrible content and whatnot? So yeah, it's just a little bit more in depth that you can go when you're doing your domain hunting. Like Nick was saying, just because it was used as a PBN doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't buy it. A lot of people won't buy it. That's one of their like hard checks. That absolutely will not buy it if it was used as a PBN. Yeah, like Nick was talking about, it's all kind of like a risk reward kind of situation that you have going on, right? So, you know, if it's really cheap and actually has a pretty good backlink profile, but it was used as a PBN, you know, is the, you know, 10, 20, 50, $100, whatever it cost, is that worth it for it maybe never really coming back to life, or maybe it takes months to come back to life. But yeah, just something you kind of have to, you know, do in your own head, a little calculation you got to do. But, you know, worst case scenario, you could always go and try to sell the domain again. So not really the end of the world. All right. I think we got more questions rolling in on the YouTubes. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you guys Kyle's cool video real quick. Give me 1 second and I'll pull that up. So I don't think that, here, how do I do this? Desktop audio. Okay, I think it'll play with the sound now. Hopefully it's not too loud. Here we go. But this is a video that one of our group members made, and because we're always kind of dogging on John Weller from Google. He's like Google's SEO spokesperson. And so he sometimes he says good stuff, but a lot of time he just says stuff that anyone who's been doing SEO for a while just kind of knows is bogus. It's basically just their talking point that they want people to believe, or just how they want them to act or whatever. But yeah, this is a cool little video that Kyle made for us. I like it. So yeah, Kyle
awesome.
wins
Awesome.
Group Member of the Month forever, I think. And yeah, I think he's gonna keep going with it. I think there's gonna be a battle with the dragon and stuff. Kyle says, "Such a snake, Mr. Mueller is." Yeah, he's all right. You know, he's a guy doing his job. Just got to realize it is what it is, right?
Google offers me the job. You're not going to see me again, guys. Just sorry, just being honest.
All right. Let's get to some of these other questions here. All right. Hi guys. Let's say if I were to build 50 backlinks a month, I'm stupid. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, here we go. All right. I've got an age domain and I plan on rebuilding the original posts that have valuable backlinks and continue to add new content in the original niche. What? Okay, so the question is here. My question is, what happens to the backlinks the site has that you are not able to create a URL for and use? So I'll let Nick take that because he's the mega PBN
I like doing this stuff.
domain builder man.
So, you know, you're saying what happens to these old pages with backlinks going to them that you aren't, I mean, you're able to create these URLs, right? They might just not be pertinent to what your niche is, right? So there's a couple of ways that you can repurpose these. One is to 301 them to relevant pages, but if they're so far off the wall that they're not relevant at all, you know, maybe you'll struggle kind of defining where those should go. Another thing that I really like to do is I like to rebuild those old pages with the exact URL or just a slight variation of the URL. Let's say it's not niched, but you want to make it more niched. Let's say you bought a domain that was in the, I don't know, pet niche, but your domain is about food. Try and tailor that permalink to be something about both, you know, dog food, something along those lines, right? but you're just injecting whatever you want in there. And the purpose of this isn't so that you're really manipulating traffic or any kind of person. You're doing this exclusively to manipulate Google's algorithm, right? The crawlers that are going to come crawl your site. And what you can use these pages for is to then create hub pages that are going to increase crawlability through the stuff that actually does matter. So a lot of times I'll take old URLs, I'll put 1,000 to 1,500 words of content related to whatever I want on there. Maybe I will inject a little more niche relevance by taking the permalink that used to exist and adding on a little bit of niche relevance to that permalink, then 301ing the old one to the new one. I hope I'm not getting too confusing here. I feel like maybe a diagram would make it easier, but that's the overall idea. Is if you're changing the permalink, just make sure you're recreating the 301 to repurpose the backlinks, which is the entire purpose of doing something like this. Then within that, 1,500 word article, you can inject all the interlinking you want to all the stuff that you're actually trying to rank for. Over time, this is going to act like a crawlable hub page. It doesn't have to exist on your site's menu or anything. It just has to exist on the sitemap so that Google itself is crawling it, right? Essentially, it's going to become a sort of hub support page. But again, there's no purpose to somebody landing on that page and actually using it. It's more so going to be used to manipulate the search. Now you could take it further and make it more white hat. All of that's up to you. But yeah, that's something you can do with pages that aren't, quite relevant enough to whatever you're trying to go for. But if an old page has a decent amount of backlinks going to it, or even one backlink that's from a really high authority website, it is going to be worthwhile to repurpose and reuse that. So at the very least, you would want to 301 it to something. And if that's just 301ing it back to the home page, then so be it.
That's what I was going to say.
I think especially in the newer days of repurposing old domains, you'll come to find that recreating the old URLs seems to have more strength than just 301ing everything or majority back to the home page.
Yeah, so just a quick recap. Rebuild the pages that you can. Rebuild the most powerful pages for sure. The pages that have the most backlinks going to them. Pages that you can't figure out a way to rebuild, or maybe they just don't have a lot of links, but they do have some links. You can then 301 back to them, back to your homepage. How often do you use the auto 301 plugin in this case?
So I mean, I only use there's a couple, right? There's auto 301 back to the homepage, right, which gets used on PBNs a whole lot, and a lot of people are scared to use them at all because they think Google's anti 301 to the homepage, but that's not really the case. It's just use it sparingly. So on PBNs, I'll use that here and there. Just to keep link juice going to the specific URL.
What about for a non-PBN?
Yeah, right. So for an actual money site, I might use like a plugin like 404 redirect to similar post, which is going to match the 404 old URL to something that's the most the permalink that's most similar to that old URL, right? So if the old URL was best woven baskets, then you had a page that was like woven baskets, it would 301 to that one, right? So I do like using that in conjunction with then another redirect plugin like redirection or something like that, so that I can fine tune if the auto match happened to go to the wrong post,
what's
right?
The name of the one
but what's
we
cool
use?
about it is you can use both of those together.
What's the name of the one that we use?
404 to similar posts. I don't know if we have answer links or redirection, most likely.
Yeah, I'm not looking on the links. Anyway, you can search around for plugins that just automatically 301, 404 URLs, sites that don't, pages that don't exist or whatever on your site, and it'll automatically 301 them. But yeah, like Nick was saying, it's probably better to rebuild pages when you can. 301 to very closely related pages, as a step 2, and then I guess step 3 would be. Or step 3 would be, maybe sending some of the stuff to the homepage, or step 4 could be using the auto 301 plugin. That's not the name of it, but you'll just have to search around for it.
Yeah, I mean, try a few out. Maybe you like one more than the other.
Anything else to add on that, Nick?
No.
All right, let's keep on going. All right, let's go ahead and grab one from over here. This is another question we already answered in the group, but figured we'd talk about it on stream as well because it's kind of important, I guess. How are you guys dealing with the December 2021 product review update? My site got hit massively. So let me go ahead and pull up, first of all, the information that Google put out about this. 1 second. All right, here we go. So this is, if you weren't aware, Google put out a product review update. They've really been kind of targeting a bunch of affiliate type stuff in the past, I don't know, what is it now, maybe 6 months to a year. I feel like their motives might be a little bit less than, I feel like their motives might be a little bit self-serving in this case. I feel like they're going to kind of start targeting a lot of affiliate stuff themselves. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So the main points of the product review update are here. So if you have a website that's providing product reviews and you're making money through affiliate commissions, then this is most likely going to apply to you. So provide evidence such as visuals, audio, and other links to your experience with the product, to your support with expertise, and reinforce the authenticity of your review. So what they're really looking for here is so a lot of people think that they now need to buy the product. They have to actually buy the products they're reviewing, buy each and every one, which of course you're not going to do. I mean, some people might. If you have a really high budget site and you have an extremely established
I myself have never used a I've used every product I've built an affiliate site.
Yeah, me too. And so so basically if you're not going to be buying the products, then what you need to do is make it seem like you did buy the product. And the ways that you can do this with your writing style is, you need to have your writers, or if you're writing it, you need to write it like this. You need to use words like I and we a lot, and you need to talk about it as if your personal experience with actually using the product, not just this product has this product does that. Google's getting better at understanding this kind of like this type of context. And so you need to write it from the perspective of, I got this product, I did this with it, this is what it did for me, I didn't like that or whatever. So you just really need to write from that point of view. And, and then here we got visuals, audio, so, pictures, videos, all that stuff. And so as far as pictures go, a good thing to be doing would be using, unique pictures, not something that's the exact same picture that can be found on every other affiliate product review. And so again, if you don't actually have the product to take pictures of, a couple of ways around this are to grab a picture off the internet and then manipulate it in Photoshop. Manipulate it somehow so that it's no longer similar enough to the original. Or you could also, a trick that people have been doing for a while to get unique pictures is to go watch a YouTube video and take little screenshots out of the YouTube video. And then boom, you have a unique image that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Though it might break copyright laws.
Though it might break copyright law. So definitely check into that and consult your lawyer. And then the last thing here, include links to multiple sellers. So yeah, a lot of people you'll get the best commission from a single seller, so you might only have links to Amazon or links to Walmart or whatever it is that you're linking out to. But yeah, it looks like they actually want you to be giving the readers a choice here. So yeah, these are just the new kind of things you have to take into account when doing product review type content. And luckily, I feel like it's not that big of a deal. It's just like it's a few changes to the SOP as far as I'm concerned. What do you think about all this, Nick?
I'll be honest with you and say I barely noticed anything happening over the last few months that was like out of the ordinary with any of my affiliate sites.
I'm not really sure how they're really weighing this on
right.
The scale of like, for example, the person who asked this question, I know they've been having problems with their site for quite some time. It was basically in and out of, algorithmic penalties for quite some time now. And so, what if you just take a very good site that wasn't exactly following these new things? Like, would it be hit as hard? I feel like it wouldn't be. But
granted, I mean, like, so let's think about the main things that I've seen disrupt affiliate sites over the last like couple years, right? The big stuff that I'm cataloging, like making it an obvious reviews website where every URL ends in reviews or best or whatever. Typically my affiliate sites are going to have more than one person that I'm selling through, as a lot of times I like to, offer multiple prices, or I'll go with the vendor that's going to give me the most commission on a particular product, right? So, diversifying out of that, and then I guess in titles and stuff I do pretty often for affiliate sites, I'm always trying to use synonyms and different variations of, saying the exact same thing. So, if the intention is to find the best or a review, right? Then a lot of times you can change that up in titles, etc., by saying stuff like our favorite or top rated or whatever, right? Like, but adding a lot of differentiation in how we explain the products that we're analyzing or going over, might add some insulation, I guess, against this kind of stuff as well. But over the last 2 years, I'd say those are probably the main things that I ended up changing up at some point in time on affiliate sites. But yeah, over the last few months, I can't say that I've seen anything really
yeah, I haven't really noticed
out of normal happen to any of my sites.
Right, I haven't really noticed too much from this one either. But yeah, this first part, I feel like it's really not a big deal. You can just change the directions to your writers pretty easily, and just change the way you're getting images very easily. I feel like the second part, giving links to multiple different places to buy the stuff is a little bit more impactful, because it can definitely impact your bottom line as far as, for each product, if you're giving them like 3 options or whatever, and you can always try to steer them towards the one with how you design the page and just what you say in your text and all that good stuff, but they still have the other options there. So it might have a little bit more of an impact, but yeah, that's just what's going on. Wanted to give you guys kind of a little update on that. Let's see what else we got here. Treasure detection says buy the things and then return them. Yeah, you could definitely do that, especially with a site somewhere like Amazon. But your account would probably get like blacklisted after a while. I guess you could keep making new accounts or whatever.
Yeah, or just run to different stores.
Okay, we'll do this one. This is from Kyle. This isn't really a direct SEO question, but more of a general question. Why do you guys dislike SEO for real estate so much? Did you get hit by a crazy compliance issue from a client's broker? Um, were you talking to Kyle
Yes.
about real estate SEO?
I don't know, but uh, every time real estate SEO gets brought up in public, I'm pretty vocal about saying that I don't like working with real estate. And recent history, like I turned down a lot of real estate clients. So the reason is one of my first clients ever was in real estate, and it was not easy. And then after all these after a lot of work happened, I did run into compliance issues with brokers. And it was always changing and it was always bullshit. Quite honestly, it'd be like all of a sudden the realtor is not allowed to use the term realty inside their URL or inside of any of their citations anymore. So you've got to go out and take all that down, or the real estate agent is going to receive a $500 fine for every infraction found, right? And then, like hypothetical, if you didn't make those, or if you're having trouble accessing them, can't pull them down, or, Google's lagging in their ability to take them down, then the real estate agent is still going to be under pressure there. But even further than that, before we get into the bureaucracy of real estate in different
Just the
areas,
competition level.
the competition is so high. You consider different metros. Anywhere that homes are being sold that's valuable, quote, real estate in the SERPs, is going to be something where $1 billion company has its fingers in. And this isn't like affiliate sites in new high competition niches. This has always been somewhere where typically the top SERPs were always going to be dominated and always have been dominated by the big
They're
players, the
just the monster
nationwide real
sites, yeah.
estate
Your Zillows.
conglomerates, right? And so to compete, you have to be um, you have to be very knowledgeable on how to attack a level of competition like that with a fraction of the budget, right? And so, I don't mind admitting that I was in over my head when I first got started, but it was also a very good learning experience because I did end up tackling some smaller metros for that person, and I ended up learning a lot about, especially like why supporting content is so valuable, especially when it comes to specific metros and beefing up content and relevance to those specific metros, et cetera, right? So it's very complex. There's a million different ways you can, combat that angle of competition in a niche like that. But that compounded with all the legislation and bureaucracy involved in, being a real estate agent under a brokerage in the United States, or at least in Texas, it just it created a headache. And when you conceptualize the fact that you can use a fraction of backlinks networks and know how to tackle some very competitive niches that are worth quite a lot of money, that angle kind of loses its luster. Now, hypothetical, if you had a large budget, um, and a agent or a group of agents that understood what was going on and how technical it was, and timeframes to expect the growth of business, et cetera, then it would be something that's feasible. If anybody's watching that's got a big old brokerage and a big old bankroll, I can help you tackle whatever you need. But it's one of those things where especially when you look at like Austin,
Okay,
I won't say their
anywhere.
name, but the big, but there's one group here that, and I don't know the SEO in charge, but I know it's like heavily one guy from what I've heard. But they dominate the SERPs. They dominate, and we're talking about like they got in I don't know how long ago, but 10, 15 years ago, and they're moving billions, right? So you have to consider the bankroll. And once people are up there and they know the value of these leads, they do everything they can to protect them. And that's why we're seeing legislation across the board from the bigger brokerages saying our agents can't compete with us in the SERPs anymore. So no more using realty at the end of their name. It's for fear that one of their agents will outgrow them. Aligning themselves with somebody with know-how. But yeah, long story short, that's basically why I'm not a huge fan of dealing with real estate. Not to mention, so the agent I worked with, amazing, phenomenal person, but I also got my start in SEO predominantly selling SEO to real estate agents. I had a huge book of, I had a huge list of different niches I was allowed to interact with and sell SEO to. And I ended up 100% dedicating myself to real estate because I could talk the talk, and real estate people, they're very business minded. If you can send them leads, then, they get that. It's very, it's very valuable per lead to them. But at the same time, real estate agents are all their own entrepreneur, and you deal with a level of ego a lot of times that is unmatched in a lot of other niches. And, I'm a bit of a hard head myself, so, I'm not going to tell you how to sell your house or buy a house. I'm going to go ask you about that. So don't tell me how to SEO.
All right. So yeah, tough niche. Let's move on to a couple other questions real quick before we run out of time, just to get some more stuff out
I didn't even
there.
realize what time it was.
All right. Would rotating IP be a good idea when creating 5 to 10 Web 2.0s? I do have separate Gmail accounts. This is another question I was asked in our group recently. My flat answer for this is just no. You don't need to worry about rotating IPs when creating Web 2.0s. But I think you had something else that you said more about this, Nick.
I mean, you do have to worry about IP when creating Web 2.0s if you're talking about creating them, like creating multiple of the same accounts on the same platform.
Yeah, so I'm assuming if he's doing 5 to 10, it's not going to be on the same platform, but it's a good point.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't see why you would. Yeah, if you're talking about different platforms, then you don't have to rotate IP, as they're not, sharing this information. But if you're trying to create, let's say, 10 blog spots, 5 to 10 blog spots, you might need to rotate IP. Otherwise, they'll all get flagged for like multiple account creation. They're fighting. Their security is trying to fight bots from just creating countless accounts, etc. And if you look at the bigger companies, so let's not Web 2.0, but Facebook, for example, very tight structure on how many accounts a particular IP address can have.
Yeah, I think I kind of read the question a little bit differently. So like when I read the question, I thought it was more about, like, he was talking about from like, will Google find out they're my Web 2.0s kind of situation.
Oh, right.
And so yeah, when I answer it like that, it's just like, no, these are,
Yeah, no.
When Google sees the IPs of these Web 2.0s, it's going to be the Web 2.0's IP. It's not going to be your IP. You're not providing the hosting for this stuff or anything. They're not going to see Google's not going to see your IP. But yeah, Nick makes a good point. If you're trying to make a bunch of Web 2.0s, especially on the same platform, then yeah, they might you might have some problems with them flagging you for trying to create too many accounts or whatever. But if you're doing it on a bunch of different domains or whatever, a bunch of different Web 2.0 sites, then it's not something you need to worry about at all. All right. Let's see. So Kyle says, thank you for your answer. It's much appreciated. Yes, the leads are big money. We're in the top 10 in the US market, and it has taken years and tons of work, but we're on the first page. I completely agree with the ego. Yeah, real estate's just rough. I mean, it's not only is the product very expensive, but it's a lot of people are buying this thing. It's just as far as competition goes, it's just it doesn't really get too much harder.
Yeah, I would say it really doesn't get too much harder when it comes to SEO or a particular niche. I mean, like, we talk about casino and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but as far as like a major niche,
Yeah, it's just the sheer force of like money and also volume of sale, like amount of people purchasing homes or whatever, just all together. It's just there's so much
plus,
money at stake that it's very competitive.
more so than that, it's like also, you can't just create a WordPress site and then go get a Dex that's going to work really well for you. Dex is like, it's called Dex, right? Where you can go browse homes and stuff like that. They've got all sorts of issues, or at least when I was doing it, they had all sorts of issues. And so you'll come to find that a lot of the top players have, beautiful custom built sites with dedicated teams to managing all of that, right? So, yeah, I mean, and also, I'm probably out of date on that information, but that's badass, Kyle. Solid. You should make a little case study or something.
All right. We'll do a couple more real quick ones. Yeah, so we are running we are pretty much out of time, guys. If you have any last questions, go ahead and drop them, or else we're just going to do a couple more pretty short ones that we've had on the backlog for a while, and we'll get out of here. All right. Can switching hosting hurt your rankings? I'll leave this one to you as well, Nick.
Yeah, it shouldn't hurt your rankings, unless there's some sort of issue going on, underlying issue, like maybe the host you were using, you had SSL, and then when you switched over, you messed that up, and then you've got to switch back to SSL and make sure everything is 301 properly. But those are all small little issues. And then another thing to look for is something that like came up in the site recently, which I guess SiteGround is having indexation issues for whatever reason. Google doesn't want to index pages of sites hosted on SiteGround. Or at least that might be resolved now. I don't want to badmouth them as I've used SiteGround over the years. But it was an issue that they've been dealing with. So hypothetical, if you moved from good hosting to hosting like that, or maybe cheaper hosting, and it ended up putting you on an IP in a quote bad neighborhood, then those two things could affect you, right? So don't leave, like if you're on Namecheap for $288 a month, that's solid hosting. If you're looking to leave that and go to 50-cent hosting, then you might run into issues, because typically the only websites that want to be on 50 cent a month hosting are shady websites. Pick a high-end host to switch to, and like really it's limited room for error on how you're going to be affecting the SERPs.
Yeah, so besides the recent problems that SiteGround has had, I think it's pretty safe to say that the only real thing you would worry about is if some kind of like little detail was messed up in the transfer. It wouldn't be that switching hosting itself caused the issue. It'd be more like when you switch hosts that, like Nick said, something like your SSL certificate or whatever was messed up, rather than the new host itself having some kind of problem. But yeah, there could just be some little detail like that that caused issues. Anything else to say on that one, Nick?
No, that should be it.
All right. Got a lot of Nick questions today, or a lot of questions I'm gonna just throw to you.
Because I'm a genius.
Is it normal for PBN links to have no traffic?
Yeah, it's pretty common. I remember, like, especially first getting started in PBNs. Yeah, that question gets brought up a whole lot. Hypothetical, is a equivalent PBN with traffic going to be better than the equivalent PBN with no traffic? Yeah. I mean, it is. How much better? I would venture to guess it's pretty worthwhile, but overall, when I'm using PBNs, I can't say that I'm too worried about that. the objective of the PBN is to have that homepage contextual backpost or a homepage contextual backlink on the post. You're deriving the power because predominantly the homepage is going to have the most backlinks pointed at it, or you're going to be 301ing the inner page links to the homepage. And then that's going to add a whole lot of crawlability to your asset via that backlink, right? So is it a must for a PBN to have traffic? Absolutely not. A lot of PBNs exist in the backwoods of the SERP somewhere. They're so long as they're indexed and so long as the posts that are going up on them are indexed, then you'll see that they are resonating, right? So they are being crawled, they do have importance, but at the same time, they're not quite important enough to show to a huge amount of traffic.
Actually,
And you'll
right.
come to find that, even a really strong PBN that does get a decent amount of traffic, it's going to die off over time, right? Because that traffic is going to tell Google that there's something weird about this site, because the content
high
is going
bounce
to be
rate.
dedicated, right? It's very common to see PBNs with no traffic. That doesn't mean they don't work or that they're not worthwhile to get. It's just, name of the game when you're playing with PBNs.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple things to this real quick. One thing is the obsession with traffic on links.
Yeah.
This is kind of something that's been a newer way that people think over the past couple of years or whatever. And I get it, a site that has traffic is a healthy site, right? But at the same time, I kind of I just don't look at PBNs at all like I would any other site. That's not what it's just not what they are. And PBN might have traffic, but at the same time, in general, PBN links, they're cheap. You're not trying to spend a ton of money on these things, or else it just wouldn't be worth it for one link to your target or however many sites you're linking to. So they're not maintained in the same way as like an actual website that's actually really trying to rank for stuff and going out trying to get new links for themselves all the time and this and that. PBN is a repurposed old site. You're just reharnessing the links that are already there, and it kind of, you're putting new content in on it every now and then, but it's just not really taken care of with the same kind of love that someone's actual website that they're using, or else
Yeah.
it just doesn't make
And
sense to do that.
And on the other side of the token, like if you're trying to consider what's natural, right? A lot of people like to assume they know what's natural based on what they see in the SERPs, but a lot of things are left out of the SERPs, right? Like how many mom and pop shops out there do you think have had a website built, don't know what backlinks are? It gets some word of mouth traffic, but it basically just exists the same way a PBN would, as a dead site in the backwoods SERPs middle of nowhere, right? But Google knows these are legit sites. They are businesses. They are, used for whatever. They're just not high value targets. So they don't get SERP positions and traffic analytics, et cetera, right? However, those PBNs that you're talking about with, quote, no traffic, if you were, which you wouldn't do, to put them into GSC, you would come to find that they do get traffic, even though Ahrefs is showing that they've got zero traffic. It's super uncommon that they wouldn't have anybody ever wander on their site, or at least bots or something, right? So always take that into consideration, that Ahrefs, though Ahrefs is saying that they've crawled your site and it's got no traffic value, Ahrefs doesn't have the same information that Google does. Google can go a lot deeper, so things to consider.
Yeah, and I'll just say that traffic. We like traffic. I like links from sites that have traffic than that don't have traffic. But Ahrefs traffic estimations are like you're talking. It's just an estimation of how much traffic they're getting based on their rankings. And let's be real, a site a site can have a good amount of backlinks with a homepage link that'd be very good for you, and they could just not really be ranking on anything, on high pages. Just because you have 100 backlinks to your website doesn't mean you're going to rank anywhere past page 5 even. You could just have horrible rankings. All your articles could be about competitive stuff. Your site could have 100 links and you're just not ranking for stuff, and Ahrefs is going to give you a big fat 0 for traffic. And that does not mean that a homepage link from a site that you're harnessing 100 backlinks from can't be good for you. You just kind of really have to look at it in a different kind of way. But yeah, also I'll just add in there, I think that the people's emphasis on traffic right now for backlinks is kind of just in the beginning, I felt like it was okay, but now I feel like it's kind of like bordering like unreasonable. Like, I feel like people just really want traffic.
Everything has to do with the fads that the gurus are all preaching, right?
It's just what's hot right now.
They all jump on something and then they just keep attacking it and they use it to sell products or whatever. It's all. Yeah,
it almost makes me just want to restructure all of our products by traffic.
Well, and you could. And there's people that do that, right? They switch up their business model every time, there's a new trend, and that's what they jump on, and then that's how they move product, right? Or that's how they fear monger and get people to listen to them more. But the fact of the matter is, it's not based in reality. It's based to game some marketing.
I definitely think it's a little bit based in reality. I just feel like people.
I mean, some, yeah. But to say you have to have traffic values to earn gains is it's bull.
Yeah, it definitely. We're definitely not saying that sites with traffic are bad or that traffic's not important. If you could have a site with a lot of traffic versus a site with no traffic, and these are actually real websites. We're not talking about PBNs. Then of course take the one with traffic. But at the same time, if the other one doesn't have as much traffic, but there's other things that value into how effective a backlink is going to be other than just the traffic. And that's my problem with the whole thing, is I feel like people have really started to put way too much emphasis on the traffic thing, and they just kind of turned a blind eye on everything else. It's like their brains kind of turned off, and they forgot there's a lot more to SEO than one little number that Ahrefs is showing you, right?
Right.
I wish it was that easy. That would be awesome. Like if you just look at one number, it's like, ooh, very good.
Yeah.
Then that would make our job a lot easier. But it's just not really the way of the world.
Dude, if anything about SEO was that cut and dry and that easy, then there'd be like no purpose for us even making videos or doing any of this. We'd all just, be ranking and making, money no problem. But the fact is, then Google wouldn't be making money. So they got to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, it'd be a little too easy to do SEO if that were the case. But just one number was a big thing. And Kyle says it was with help from you guys along the way. Well, Kyle,
that's nice.
Glad we could.
Glad to help. Yeah, glad we can help.
All right. I think we're gonna go ahead and making sure there's no more questions. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call it there, guys. We went a little over time because we love you so much.
So much. Like, comment, and subscribe if you love us back.
It's like a meme at this point that we say this at the end of every video. Anyway.
And then we remind everybody that we're not gurus and we're so much cooler, and we do. We end it like that.
All right,
we're bad at promoting.
All right, guys. Yeah, thanks. Hopefully we helped answer some of your questions. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Join our Facebook group, SEO Roundtable, if you're not already. That's definitely the #1 place to be. I know a lot of you guys like to watch on YouTube, but the Facebook group is just always there. What else we got?
Get in there and
sign up to our email newsletter. That's another good thing to get your attention when we got sales and stuff. Like right now, we got a PBN sale going on, 10% all month. And thanks. And we will see you all next time. And you're welcome, Treasure Collection.